Hi guys, welcome back. So in today's video, I'm covering the new luxury that holds its value as well as what doesn't. I know people are always really concerned about resale value. It's always such a popular topic, but regardless of whether you ever plan on reselling your item or not, it is something worthwhile to consider and keep in mind because resale value is often heavily tied to how current an item looks. And generally speaking, people don't want to wear things which look very outdated, particularly if it's at a luxury price point. I feel like everyone knows that brands like Chanel and Hermes do very well in terms of resale value, but with prices getting increasingly crazy, not everyone wants to spend 9 grand on a Chanel flap. So today I'm talking all about the newer luxury bags and items that hold their value very well, which aren't from Chanel, Hermes or Louis Vuitton. So I hope you guys enjoy this and let's get started. So I'm going to be covering what does hold its value, kind of general rules to live and shop by, as well as specific items which I think are really classic that aren't from one of those 3 brands, but generally speaking hold their value pretty well, as well as what to avoid and what to look out for. So in terms of what does hold its value, it's no surprise, but very classic timeless design is always going to do better than very heavily trend-driven design. So here I'm talking about classic shapes and styles that are tried and tested, whether that's a satchel or a tote bag or a shoulder bag, in beautiful classic materials like a nice grain leather that will wear very well with time in very classic colors. So camel, white, black, nude colors, you know, all those supposedly quite, you know, safe and maybe even boring tones, those will always do much better than anything that's really kind of crazy and over the top. And this is really leading into the kind of quiet luxury. I'm hesitant to say the word trend, but it is kind of a trend at the moment. But there really has been a heavy emphasis towards the quiet luxury movement because it really fits in with the way things are going in terms of sustainability. So buying items that you're not going to want to throw out after a year, but items which really do stand the test of time, both in terms of the design and also the craftsmanship as well. And also even things like inflation, you know, things are getting more and more expensive. You want to make sure you're investing your money into items which are going to be able to serve you for many years. They're not going to look out of date within a year or so, but items that you'll really be able to get that cost per wear down and hopefully be able to enjoy for years, maybe even decades in your wardrobe. And I would say that there's no one specific brand that has this absolutely nailed. So it's really a case of looking at brands that you like and are drawn to, identifying the items which are more classic within those brands. I think Saint Laurent is a really great example of a brand that has so many different bag designs. They've done very well in terms of sticking to that YSL logo. So a lot of their bags look very classic. And because they do so many versions, I feel like it's so easy to find something which will be able to last you for so many years. So go for what you love, but I definitely think that there's a way of making sure that your item is kind of future-proof by making sure you go for a really classic style and design in a nice neutral colorway that you'll know will go with your wardrobe and with your daily outfits. Another surefire bet for your wardrobe is beautiful fine jewelry that is well made using quality materials. I'm a huge believer in really investing in those items that you'll be able to get maximum amount of use and enjoyment out of. I think fine jewelry is such a great thing to invest in, particularly if you find pieces that really reflect your style. My absolute favorite fine jewelry brand above all others, and that's not an exaggeration to say, is Idyl. They do the most stunning pieces. They are all impeccably made, so you can choose your metal, whether that's white gold, yellow gold or rose gold, and they use all lab grown diamonds. Again, you can see all the specs, everything from the cut to the clarity to the color. And the pieces are so beautiful. Not only do they use extremely high quality materials, but they're all design led as well. So the designs are just beautiful and so fresh and modern feeling, whilst also having that really classic timeless design as well. They were nice enough to partner with me on this video, and they were having the most amazing Black Friday sale at the moment. So I will leave the details for that down below. But their pieces are just absolutely stunning. So what's unique about Idyl jewelry is that they're modular pieces, so you can build upon each piece. So for example, you can buy a pair of their base studs and then buy additional pieces to completely change the look without having to buy a new pair of base earrings. It is so incredibly clever. So I just have the one pair of my base studs. I have multiple different extra pieces that I can use to completely change up the look. So I have my emerald drop earring, which I've had for quite a while now. I think it's been over a year year. I also have my original circle drop earring, which I think I got 2 years ago. It still looks as good as new. I would say I'm very, very hard on my jewelry. I sleep in it, I shower in it, like I don't like to take it off. I don't like anything too high maintenance, and this wears so incredibly well. My pieces still look good as new, and I just wear them all the time, and they're just so, so stunning. I did just get this beautiful new earring right here that I just added onto my base set, and what I love about this is it looks like an ear crawler, but you can also turn it down to wear it as a little drop earring as well. They are so versatile and flexible, and it means you're just getting way more bang for your buck. I also just got in 2 of their beautiful bracelets. They are so stunning. You can just wear these by themselves, but they do also give you this little hook as well, which you can group them together. So you get that fantastic layered look without your bracelets going all over the place. I love this. They are so dainty, so incredibly sparkly as well, and they just go with absolutely everything. One of my favorite necklaces is the Lena necklace. Whenever I wear it, I always get so many questions about it. It is the most beautiful thing. I first spotted it on Mila Kunis, and as soon as I saw it on her, I just thought it looked so fantastic, and it instantly went on my wish list. And it's been such a favorite for me for, I think it's been a year now since I've had it. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I did also get in another one of their gorgeous necklaces. So this one is a really, really beautiful 4-stone design. It is so lovely, really, really delicate and dainty, exactly how I like my jewelry. Beautiful by itself, really, really lovely to layer as well. The jewelry is just so well made. So you have this beautiful fine gold chain, and it's just the prettiest thing. And what I love about it is it floats as well, and it's just the prettiest thing. The packaging is absolutely gorgeous as well. Like everything about them is just so well done and so well thought out. Like I feel like you can genuinely tell this is a company run by women. The jewelry is designed by women because it's just so cleverly done. It really reflects how I want to wear jewelry and the ease of it as well. And it's just absolutely stunning. So if you've not checked out Idyl, I would definitely recommend doing so. As I said, I feel like jewelry is such a worthwhile thing to invest in, particularly if you find jewelry that you really identify with and really reflects your style. And these are just the dreamiest pieces. I will make sure to link up all of my favorites down below in the description section. I'll also leave the details for that offer that they have running at the moment, but well worth checking out. They are absolutely stunning. You're also going to want to pay attention to how an item wears, and I do think the Chanel Classic Flap is the ultimate example of that, because this bag just doesn't quit. This exact one is 12 years old. It has seen a ton of use. I still wear it all the time, and it literally looks the same. Like, it looks absolutely incredible, and that is a big reason why these hold their value so incredibly well. Price increases are another one, of course, but I very rarely see an item that holds its value well, that has really, really sloppy wear and tear, and that generally looks bad after a few uses. So definitely pay attention to how an item's gonna wear, pay attention to the leather quality as well, and how high maintenance it's gonna be, because all of those really do give you a lot of clues as to its longevity. The details here really, really matter, even when it comes to so-called very classic bags, you know, and here I'm talking the size of the bag, the leather type, the finish, the color, the pattern. They all really do come into it when it comes to very, very classic looking styles. You can have a Chanel Classic Flap, but if it's lime green and, you know, patent leather or super fuzzy, it's simply not going to have the longevity and the classic timeless appeal as something that's in a black grained leather, you know. So the more boring options really do stand the test of time better, so make sure you go for the safer options if you are really concerned about resale value, because they're just going to have so much more longevity than anything that's a little bit more wacky. Now I want to run through a very quick list of bags which I think are going to be the new classics. They have varying degrees of resale value, and I want to reiterate that if your sole focus is resale value, then you're not going to do better than a Chanel Classic Flap or, you know, an Hermes Birkin or Kelly or anything along those lines. So none of these bags have the resale value of those styles, because it's pretty much impossible to do that unless you are from those brands. But there are still plenty of bags which have decent resale value but also look very, very classic, and I think will do for many years to come. So I'm going to go by brand here. The first one is Saint Laurent. I think Saint Laurent have really nailed it in terms of producing really beautiful, well-made quality bags which do look very, very classic. They have a ton of different styles in this category for me, so I think the Lulu line does look very classic, and that's everything from the classic Lulu line through to the puffer styles, which I think if you would have asked me a few years ago when they were first released, do I consider them to be classic? I wouldn't have said so. I bought mine pretty much straight away because I love the look. I thought it was a bit out there and I didn't think many other people would agree with me, but actually they've become enduringly popular and I only see them going from strength to strength, partly because they are also beautifully made, they are really soft, really functional, and they're just generally a great bag, leading into my other points of functionality and do they wear well, which for me they do very much so. I also wanted to mention the wallet on chain line and also their wristlet clutch line, all really strong bags which I think look very classic now, but I think will also look very classic for many years to come. Next up is Gucci, and my two favorite bags, both in terms of the design and also how classic I think they are the Dionysus and also the Diana line. Now they do have many variations within these categories. For me, the Dionysus, the small and the medium size are the most classic looking, and then for the Diana line I do like the kind of mini totes. The other styles that they're now introducing I'm less sure of. Some of them I love and some of them I'm not such a fan of, but generally speaking both these designs are I think pretty classic at this point. You know, the Diana has actually been around for a really long time. It got re-released and it's very popular now, and for good reason. I think it's a fantastic bag, and the Dionysus I feel like has been popular ever since it was first released, and it just doesn't seem to be going anywhere. It's a beautiful bag, very well designed, and I think both those are pretty classic styles from Gucci. From Dior, there are a ton of different styles, but for me, and maybe I'm a bit biased because these are both styles that I own, but I think that the Lady Dior, very, very classic, been around for decades. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. But also a new entry is the book tote, and I feel like a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this one, but I actually think that it's kind of been enduringly popular. It's not a new style, it's been around for a while, and I think it's only going to get more popular, and certainly Dior seem to be investing a lot of money into it, constantly releasing new designs. There are obviously many other Dior styles, but for me I would say those are the two that I would probably put money on in terms of how classic they're going to be in 5 or 10 years time. Celine is another brand that do a ton of very classic styles, and I feel like almost the majority of their bag line I'd say is more on the classic side. In terms of my favorites, I would probably say the box bag is really up there just in terms of really, really iconic designs. I also think the belt bag looks pretty classic at this point, but they do so many stunning bags, all very well made from what I hear, and I think so many of the designs can look to be very, very classic and also have decent longevity. The Loewe puzzle bag is another one which I think is very, very classic at this point. Now, I was actually told by you guys that the puzzle bag has now been discontinued. That's what I thought I bought recently, but I am definitely not a Loewe girl in terms of just being really up on the brand, so I was completely oblivious to this fact. The new puzzle style looks to be very similar to me, but that line of bag, shall we say, I do think has kind of earned its right to be considered a very classic bag. Again, being around for a while, I don't think that they're going anywhere anytime soon, and I do think it's a really kind of understated bag that leads itself very well to that kind of quiet luxury look, and as a result I do think we're still going to see it around for a very long time to come. Chloe is next, and for me I can really only pinpoint one bag that I'm fairly confident will still be looking very current and great in 5 years time, which is the Mini Marcy. I own one myself and I absolutely love it. I think it's just the most adorable style. It's been around for ages and I just think it's such a simple classic design that's the reason why it's had such great longevity, because it's just timeless in its appeal, you know. It's very simple, very functional, and it's just kind of great. The Chloe Woody Tote is another favourite of mine, but would I want to put money on it still looking super current in 5 years time? I'm just not as sure. So even though I love that bag, for me, if I had to put money on a style, it would definitely be the Mini Marcy. And then I did want to mention also the Fendi Peekaboo and the Louis Vuitton Capucine bag. I feel like both of these styles are, on the one hand, very, very classic, but I also happen to know that both of them have pretty terrible resale value, and I'm not entirely sure why either, but neither of them seem to do particularly well. I'd say the Capucine bag probably does a little bit worse than the Peekaboo, but I don't think either of them have great resale value, which, considering they are so expensive, are also very classic. They've been around for, you know, a very, very long time. They're still very popular. is a little bit of a mystery to me. So if you have theories as to why this is the case, let me know in the comment section. But I've definitely seen firsthand that both of these do have pretty awful resale value. That said, if you love them, I do think they look very, very classic, and I wouldn't be surprised if they look just as classic in 5 or 10 years time. And now for a list of things to look out for if you are concerned about resale value. So essentially kind of the things which might indicate that an item isn't going to hold its value very well. This isn't a foolproof list, but there's certainly things to keep in mind if you are looking at an item and you do notice any one of these things. The first thing to look out for are sales and discount codes. Now, of course, everyone loves a good discount, but when it comes to luxury goods, items which are very heavily discounted and very frequently discounted often mean the opposite in terms of how classic an item is going to be perceived to be. And this is exactly why when brands become very popular, they will often make the move to a no discount approach. So Saint Laurent is a really good example of that. When they started to get really popular a few years ago, they made the move to be excluded from all discount codes. And they will often say to the department stores or the online stores in question, we want to be excluded from everything, otherwise we will stop supplying you with our items. So the stores really often have very little say in the matter. It is the brand that dictates whether they want to be included in those codes, and Saint Laurent made the decision to be excluded because they want to be seen as a very classic brand that will really retains its value very, very well. Gucci did a similar thing, and as we know, Louis Vuitton never has sales, Hermes doesn't have sales, and while Chanel does have sales, they only do it on very select items and never off their bag. So if an item that you're looking at is very heavily discounted all the time and it's something that you want to be on your wardrobe for decades to come and you really want it to be classic, I would definitely approach with caution. The next thing to be wary of is more trend-driven design, and here I'm talking anything that's more on the extreme end of the kind of design spectrum. So whether that's a really tiny micro bag or something really crazy that's part of the bag design, from a crazy heavy loud chain to a ton of logos to maybe a crazy material like a really bright fur, like whatever it is, if it's more on the extreme end, it's much less likely to be considered as classic, and the more trend driven it is, the less likely it's going to have that really great timeless appeal, really reducing its long-term value. The next thing to look out for is any changes in brand perception, and this can be anything from oversaturation. So we saw this with Burberry back in the day when suddenly everyone's wearing those really kind of loud checks. Burberry had to spend a lot of time and effort and money on making that shift away to be seen as more luxe again. Another example of brand perception change is Balenciaga and their recent scandal. Almost overnight, they went from a very, very overnight brand to something that people really didn't want to be seen with because of all the elements of that scandal. Another example is also a creative change as well. So if a new creative director comes in with a brand, often that means that they'll want to put their own stamp on the house or discontinue a load of designs, and usually speaking, when an item is discontinued, it means out of sight, out of mind, and will often very quickly lose its value as a result of that. So you definitely want to be looking at the kind of macro elements of a design house as well. Look at all the different things that are happening with it, anything that might affect its brand perception, because that can have a huge knock-on effect on the resale value of its items. And finally, I've alluded to it before in this video, but it's worth repeating again because it's the #1 biggest factor, but it is lack of timeless appeal. And that's everything from the actual design house in question to the item itself, to the size of it, the details, the color, the leather type. All of those things really do come into how timeless a bag is going to look, how classic the design is, and ultimately the kind of longevity we can expect to see from it. So that wraps up my list of what does and doesn't hold its value. Let me know in the comment section below if you agree with my points. If you enjoyed the video, please do give us a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, please do subscribe. I make videos all the time. As always, thank you for watching. I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.